We're back in the house. Thanks for everybody here for we have now our second guest on for today, and it's a very distinguished guest. Dr. Ellen Rojas Clark is here to talk to us about this important event, the San Antonio, the inaugural event here in San Antonio. That's a celebration of the Day of the Dead, Day of the Dead, San Antonio. Welcome, Dr. Clark.
Thank you so much for having us here.
Oh, so can you, I guess the Day of the Dead, a lot of people don't understand what it is and what's its significance. Can you share that with us?
I sure will. Well, we honor dead all over the world.
Yes, we do.
You know, it's a cultural event, and like I said, it's celebrated by most cultures throughout the world, specifically in the Americas,
Mm-hmm.
and that is through Mexico and a lot of the indigenous-based countries.
Uh-huh.
It's a mesh of an indigenous belief system and the Catholicism, the
Okay.
two religious systems coming together in honor of November the 1st, which is the day of the young children who have passed on, and November the 2nd, that of the adults who have passed on. But for me, I'm not even Catholic, but I'm a Methodist. I'm a Methodist. But it's a very much a cultural event for me.
Yes.
So it's a very a wonderful way to respect and to honor and to remember. I mean, can you imagine passing away in
Everything
10
you did is
years?
forgotten, like you never existed.
Exactly, exactly. And that I think is something that always struck me about the indigenous groups, that they always said, as long as you can say somebody's name or the
Right.
name of a concept, that person or that concept is still alive.
How beautiful.
Isn't that
That's
beautiful?
beautiful.
So I would make sure that my grandchildren, great grandchildren that I don't have yet, will always remember me.
Amen.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So, I mean, how did you? So I understand you're a historian and everything, and you understand the entire history. How long does this recognition? How long does it go back?
Oh, thousands and thousands of
Uh-huh.
years. And it does come again, like I said, whenever indigenous groups here, and then of course in Europe,
In Europe too, right?
when formalized religion comes about, then of course it becomes a holiday within the European or across the ocean. But in the Americas, the long indigenous groups always had been a part of their function.
Even before organized religion, though,
Oh
correct?
yeah. Well, they had their own organized religion.
That's
So
true. Yeah,
that,
that's
yeah.
true. We don't recognize it,
Yeah,
but
we
that's
don't
very true.
recognize give validity to other religions other than the European
Right,
ones, right?
exactly.
But most groups, like I said, do honor this, and I think it's just a super way to bring to mind and have us all stop and reflect not only on who we are but who we were, and that who we were is always our ancestors. You know, it's
Right.
always our grandparents, our great grandparents, and so forth. So as long as we can. Do you, by the way, remember the name of your great grandmother?
Actually, I do.
You do.
Yeah.
What was your great grandmother's name?
Her name was Pearl
Uh-huh.
Lee.
Pearl. So, presente, and we say presente mean present,
Yes,
because as soon as you just said her name, she was present again and
absolutely.
evoked a beautiful memory for you.
I felt that. You know what?
Yeah.
I felt that.
Yeah, good. And I didn't know my great grandmother, and I
Uh-huh.
didn't know my grandmothers. So they all passed away before I came around.
Well, I'm very fortunate. I got to know all four of my grandparents, and they all lived to be over the centurions. They all lived to be over 100. So, and yeah,
Wonderful.
my mom is still alive. She's in her early 90s. My dad died at 95, just about
My
a year and a half
goodness.
ago. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So longevity exists. But nowadays it just seems like culturally that the dead aren't revered anymore, or remembered, or celebrated. It's just kind of like it's just a lost thing. It seems.
It is a lost
And
thing.
I remember when I was young, we would always go to the cemetery every Memorial Day, and
Okay.
for birthdays, we'd always go. And,
Mm-hmm.
going out to the cemetery, and we would just always put flowers out for our loved ones that have passed away. And you drive by cemeteries today, you rarely, unless it's the military cemetery, rarely do you see flowers at the cemeteries anymore, or
Well, I
things.
beg
And
to differ with you, because
okay,
if you drive by Castroville Road,
uh huh,
San Fernando Cathedral,
uh huh,
you will see a landscape, a literal landscape of mostly plastic flowers, but all, bright
right,
yellow and
right,
red and
awesome.
purple and ribbons and flowers. And actually on November the 1st or October the 31st
Uh
and
huh,
November the 1st and 2nd, you see families at the cemetery,
Right,
cleaning up the
right,
grave,
exactly.
cleaning it up,
Make,
cutting the
like, cutting the weeds back and
yes,
making it look pretty
and
and
then
shining
having a
things.
picnic.
Yes, and having a pick. That's right.
Yes. So you sit there
That's awesome.
and enjoy the family and tell stories. And that for me is what Dia de Muertos is about. It is about saying our ancestors' names, or not. Ancestors sound so long ago,
Right,
but I'm talking about just your whoever's passed
right.
away,
Who actually?
even a puppy, whoever's passed away, and bring that person or that element back to mind. Tell a story for the next generation, and then exhibit that you are honoring and respecting
Right,
those that came before
right.
you. And
You,
I think that's a wonderful, wonderful occasion.
it really is. We've always had pets. I mean, since I can remember, and in my current family, we have. I hate to tell people this, like, but the people that listen know I have like 9 cats and 3 dogs. So, but every time one of our pets pass away, we always have a little memory thing for them, a little memorial thing for them.
And
Um,
children, for children, it's very
yes, it
important
is. It's very
that
important.
their pets be remembered. And there's nothing wrong with grieving.
Right, right.
And what I really like about the aspects that the indigenous groups bring to us is that they say, really, when you're alive, you're really asleep. And it's only when you die that you wake up.
How beautiful.
Isn't that incredible?
How beautiful.
So it tells you about the afterlife, regardless of what religion you
Right,
are. It
exactly.
tells you there's something there for you
It's,
afterwards.
it's really something because many people in our culture today, I think it's more of a current thing than a historic, seem to fear death,
Oh,
and it's really when you look at it from a religious standpoint, or like you just said, you become alive
mm-hmm.
after you die. I mean, really, through most religions, the passing on to the afterlife, if you will, is
Is
something that people look like they live to get there, so to speak.
so it gives you hope,
Right,
and it gives you a chance to say you will come to be with whoever,
right.
regardless of what you think that is,
Exactly, regardless
heaven
of
or
what you think
hell
it
or
is.
whatever.
Whatever
But
it is, that's
it's
right.
a spirit place someplace. And I think that for us in San Antonio, because
Uh-huh.
we're
That's right.
definitely rooted in Mexican history and
Absolutely.
in indigenous history, because those were the people that were here before
Exactly.
Texas became Texas.
Exactly.
So it's embedded in us. And so I think that the celebration of life
Hmm.
and the celebration of death is a very important aspect. So we don't fear death.
Right.
And
We shouldn't.
right, we shouldn't. I think that you celebrate people who have died and you celebrate those that are living also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What people don't understand, I think the really significant thing about the San Antonio formally recognizing the Day of the Dead is that when you look at the rich culture that we have here in San Antonio, if you have, I'm sure you've been to the Institute of Texas Cultures,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at the Germans and the indigenous folks, but the German and the people from Polish descent and up, it's just a great history. The African Americans
Oh
and their
yes.
contributions, and
Yes. Uh-huh.
it's amazing that how diverse this area in Texas was, and
Was.
and the fact that people like you make sure that we don't lose that, and you're to be commended for that.
But
like I said, we were waiting for you. They were saying that. Well, I think she's driving. I said we got to get Dr. Ross Clark. Got to get her a driver. She is a national treasure. We can't be
oh,
losing
well,
her.
thank you so much. I really feel that it's my my role in life, and,
Hmm.
and to remind people of the strength that our culture brings us
Yes.
and the strength that our ethnicity brings us.
Yes.
So the more we know about who we are,
Yes.
if I can say with a definitive voice, I am Ellen Riojas Clark. I'm a Mexican American, and you say it with
With
pride.
pride,
And
absolutely.
I am mestiza, that which means that I have indigenous background,
Right.
and I have, of course, everybody in America, I guess, has a European one, but it
Absolutely.
is that mixture. And in San Antonio, where I was born and I'm going to die,
Absolutely.
that it means that my history is alive and well.
Right.
And so that's my role in life. So in terms of Day of the Dead or Dia de Muertos, I feel it's really important in this horrible times we're living in to understand that we do have strength
Yes, we
and
do.
we do have power.
Yes, we do.
And that power comes from those that came before
That's
us.
right. And you know what? what people don't understand, the people that try that have created this abyss that we live in today, they think that words can take your power away. They can't. The only way we lose power is by giving it away.
Oh, that's excellent. Exactly.
Because we
And
do. They're our strength. Our ancestors are strength. I was the first African American to go to um, um, a public school in Baltimore County.
hmm,
And my mom, because all my older sisters and brothers, they went to these schools. They were called separate but equal back in the early '60s.
right.
And there was a school bus that took the white kids from outside of our area. They'd drive through our area to go to the school that was just built. And one day, my mom and some ladies from church laid down in the street and said, "This bus is no longer driving through this neighborhood unless you start picking up our children." And it was they went to jail, and
How
they come back out and get out of
powerful.
jail. They would do it again, do it again. Finally, they had to make a big deal. All these people were. I had to take these tests, and it was like, I was like the test kid, and we'll see if he can go too. He's too stupid; he'll never make it. But one summer, I didn't do anything but studied. My mom had a blackboard ball in and flashcards and
Oh,
all
how
kinds of stuff.
nice.
But anyway, I digress. But that's part of my history. And today, people, I'm not gonna tell how old I am, but so I'm still a student. I'm a lifelong learner because of the importance that my parents put on education. They risked their lives for me to learn. So it would be a sin to their memory if I didn't become a lifetime. And so that's where you get strength. You do get strength from those that come before you and the struggle that they went through. And
And
a lot
and
of us take
I
that for granted.
and that's what Day of the Dead does for us. It gives us that opportunity. It says this is a time.
Mm-hmm.
Might be only 3 or 4 days, but it's a time
It
for
is a
you
time.
to tell that story.
Right.
And it's for the next generation to learn the story because they didn't come up by
That's
themselves.
right.
Of course, we have all these other shoulders that we stand on,
Absolutely.
but knowing the past experiences gives us that power.
That's right.
And nobody can take that
And
away from
nobody
us
can take that
if
away.
you know it and
That's
you
right.
honor it and you own it.
That's right.
So I think Day of the Dead does that for us.
Yes, it does.
It makes me understand and realize it doesn't matter that I'm not Catholic. What matters is that it is a cultural celebration and it is, you know, with joy that we remember, not with,
Absolutely.
I mean, sure, you can have tears and cry and you miss people. That's a natural
That's an
kind of
emotional thing.
element.
Right. Right.
But it's also natural to laugh
Absolutely.
about the stories that, I mean, your
Absolutely.
mother laying on the street,
Yep.
the little
Think
ones will
about
laugh
that.
at that
That's
story,
right.
but what you're really saying, look at the strength and the power
That's
that
right.
woman had. So the Day of the Dead gives us those opportunities. And I'm so happy that UNESCO has proclaimed that
Yes.
this remembrance is a worldwide thing for humanity. And then popular movies nowadays like Coco
Right.
gives us, I guess it gives you a
It
license,
does. It does.
yeah,
It does.
to do that.
And it was. I was so. I mean, I can't believe that you guys put this together in less than a year. This type
Oh,
of
way less.
celebration takes. Because I asked, how long have you guys? Because when I found out about it, I thought, wow, I know something about everything, and I didn't even know this was going on. So I thought, surely they've been working on this for 5 years. And like, no, Doug, about 8 or 9 months. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
That's a lot. That's a monumental feat to pull off something so beautiful and so large and all encompassing in such a short period of time.
I think that what it's going to do for San Antonio, besides the economic returns that are going to be held, the fact that people are going to be drawn to our city, but it's going to be a model of what our identity is as a
Right.
city. Our city is a bicultural city.
Yes, it is.
And so I think for the rest of the world and the rest of the United States to understand what biculturalism
Right.
means and multiculturalism
Right.
it means, alive and well,
Right.
this would be a good example of it. But for us who are, ethnic beings that
Mhm.
have always been, like you said, separate but equal.
Right,
I'm
that's right.
sorry, we were separate but not
We're
equal.
not equal. That's right.
And it gives us, it enhances the sense of who we are.
It gives
Helps
me a
us,
sense of honor.
yes. And, who am I as a Mexican American?
Right.
What does it mean to be that? What does it mean to have my language that comes from the United States because I'm English dominant, but my traditional or my national language is Spanish coming from across the ocean,
Right.
but also the fact that the indigenous groups here in Mexico brought the concept of zero,
Right,
astronomy. I mean, so many
right.
things that we have always given credit to
But we
across
take
the
it for
ocean.
granted. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's a shame that that happened. So I was just really I'm just proud to be saying it. And you mentioned the economic returns, but and yeah, I know everything. Everything has a bottom line, and sure I understand
yeah,
that. But just the picture it paints of San Antonio as a multicultural world metropolis is really significant because it tells a story about who we are, what we do, and people who live in San Antonio. The reason I love I've been here 20 years. I came here from Chicago,
uh-huh,
and I love Chicago, but I love San Antonio more because San Antonio embraces everybody, you know, and that is something you don't find. You don't find that in anywhere nowadays, but you find it
yeah.
here. So
And so I think, for me, I love going to restaurants and seeing men come up to each other,
mhm.
and I call it the 1, 2, 3 because they immediately,
Right,
embrace
embrace,
and
right,
slap
yep,
one,
yep,
two on the back, and
yes,
and that is, so Latino.
uh-huh.
That's part of our cultural, being
That's right.
here,
Yes, it is.
and the kisses on one side and the other. I mean, we're very affectionate people, and so I think that what most people don't realize that is that San Antonio is embedded in this.
Yes, it is.
Our culture embeds us. So for us to find out that not only are we the UNESCO heritage site because of our
Right.
missions, because of
Have you
our
been? Obviously, you've been. The missions are. I can't believe more people haven't experienced the missions. They are just fascinating.
can you? I mean, look how many we have.
Right.
Oh,
What
and
people don't understand. I try to explain it, but you have to actually go and sit where some of the priests and monks used to sit in the middle of desert. They have air conditioning inside, but there's no electricity. You figure out how they use the light and everything, and how they just the thought that went into constructing those things that have lasted, that stood the test of time, is amazing.
is amazing. It
With the
really
tools that
is.
the lack of tools that they had back then,
Yeah,
and it's better constructed than anything that we were built today. It's just amazing.
absolutely. So I think the Day of the Dead is giving us as San Antonians a real opportunity to learn about who we are as San Antonians
Absolutely.
and as a bicultural city
Yes.
and as a city rooted in Mexican history and
Yes.
culture. And also for us to understand that it makes us very unique
Yes, it does.
in our country of the United States, and that we can serve as a model, I think, for a lot of cities in the
Yes.
United States of how people can live together and celebrate what somebody
Everybody.
might think is a pagan custom.
No,
You
it's
know,
not that at all.
no, it's not that at all. It's a natural one.
It's a natural one.
And so I think that it's the Day of the Dead is going to give us this opportunity in a most magnificent way,
Yes.
and then a citywide way,
The city right
because
way. That's right.
it's very it encompasses every cultural center in San
Yes, it
Antonio.
does.
It encompasses everybody in San Antonio. It's going to encompass all of the beautiful elements that our city has: the river, the missions,
Yes.
La Villita, everything.
Every aspect
So
of it.
it
Yes.
is going to be a citywide celebration with many venues that
Right.
reflect our city.
So now let me ask real quick because we're pressed for time here. But one thing I would like for you, if you could share with us, to as much as you know. So what's actually going to happen between the first and the third? You know what's
Well, actually,
events
we're going to
there?
start even before the first and the
Okay.
third, because some exhibits start just on markets on the street on Houston Street. We're
Okay.
going to be having a lot of art exhibits. They're going to be these incredibly huge skulls,
Wow.
and the skulls are going to be lining Houston Street. They're going to be all decorated by artists. They're going to reflect many folkloric elements. But I think the basic one is that everyone is a skeleton inside.
Inside. Yeah.
We're all the same.
That's right.
There's nothing. It's the outside that makes us
Right.
different. So these big cráneos or
Uh-huh.
skulls
Mm-hmm.
are going to be decorated by artists such as Andy Benavides, Alex Rubio, Gina Garcia,
Oh
Sheg
wow.
Vega, Ana Fernandez, some of the
That's
best
the best.
artists
Yes.
in our city, and
Yes.
then some coming in from from Mexico. Sananto Cultural Arts Center, Cristina Sosa. I mean, just many,
That's
many
amazing.
artists. But can you imagine the street lined with
Yeah.
these huge skulls? And then, of course, we're going to be having something called alebrijes. Alebrijes are
Uh-huh.
these mythical
Mm-hmm.
figurines that are fashioned mostly in Oaxaca and then
Mm-hmm.
comes upward. Beautiful mythical creatures. I mean,
Wow.
you can't tell if it's a butterfly or if it's a dinosaur, if it's a frog. It's just magical in the interpretation. And some of those will be at the Whitty Museum,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, and some will be at other museums in town.
Okay.
And then I won't give you the dates because you won't remember them, but all through October the 21st, November the 15th, there'll be something going on. And then, of course, Coco. Coco has to be shown someplace. So at the Tobin, there'll be a free showing
Showing of it. Okay.
a Tobin for the city's invited. And then one of my places that I work with a lot, which is a library,
Uh-huh.
we're having our big Katrina Ball. And that
Oh.
is a fundraising event
Mm-hmm.
for the library. And it has become
It's huge.
the party
Yeah.
of
The year, huh?
of the year, and
Yeah.
actually beats out Dallas and Houston in
Wow.
terms of that. And then on Sunday the 27th, there's going to be La Reina Community Unveiling. And if I asked you
Oh.
to guess who the Reina or the Queen of San Antonio is, you would say Selena, right?
Right. Right.
So there's going to be a beautiful Catrina being a tall skeleton,
Okay.
reflects everybody in San
Okay.
Antonio, but the outside embellishment is where you'll recognize that she is
Awesome.
Salina. So that will be on the corner of South Alamo and Market Street, and then there'll be Huichol art, which is work that's done with beads
Yep.
and yarn
Okay.
and Mexico, and there'll be all kinds of figures and figurines, and they're called the creative souls.
Okay.
And the Huipil is done usually by the indigenous groups, and those will be at the Briscoe Museum,
Okay.
and I'm really looking forward to that show. But the other one
Uh-huh.
that I think is a biggie for San Antonio has parties all the time and fiestas.
All the time. Yes.
But we're going to have a river parade that's going to exhibit incredible river barges. I saw the previews and I was like astonished.
Yeah.
So
I'm
hope
going
that,
to attend that. Yeah.
yes, you'll have to attend that. And everybody should bring their children,
Yes.
because those altars on top of the boats or the barges will be absolutely extraordinary, something
Wow.
unusual. The man who's kind of spearheaded this idea has done it all over the world
Uh-huh.
and has drawn millions of people to his shows. But I think why San Antonio is so unique is
Uh-huh.
that it's in our fiber, like we were
Yes.
talking about earlier. It's in our soul,
Yes.
and we've been celebrating. Like you said, you would go to your cemetery close by. We've been doing that for generations. And
Yes.
San Antonio became San Antonio before it was Texas, when it was Mexico, and
Right.
before Mexico with indigenous groups.
Right.
And then November the 1st and through this 3rd, there'll be the La Villita, there'll be the Day of the Dead festival.
Okay.
And that's going to be, I think, extraordinary, because we're setting up altars to honor some of the notables who have passed away.
Oh, how beautiful.
I know there's going to be one, of course, for Lila
Lila
Cockrell,
of
who
course,
just
of course.
passed away. There'll be one for Dr. Chiscano, who
Yes.
just passed away, and then even the widow of Mr. Becker, the wine man,
Right. Yeah.
Bunny Becker. So they're going to be
Oh.
honoring the winemaker's
Oh.
wife, and then Chris Davila, local artist, will be doing an altar, because the altars are set up to honor specific
Right,
people who
right,
have died.
right.
And this one will be for all those who were killed in El Paso.
Oh,
So it should
wow.
be a very
Oh, that's
magnificent,
going to be really touching.
yeah, heart-wrenching
Yes.
one to honor all those who died in El Paso. Alejandra Villarreal will be doing the Horta family.
Okay.
And, she said, well, I can't just honor my family. I said, no, your altar is honoring all those people that crossed the river
Yes.
and had escaped revolution
Right.
or whatever was happening in their country. Your family escaped from Mexico to make a new life in the United States, in San Antonio, and that's a tribute. That your
Wow.
altar would be a tribute to all of those families. Kathy Sosa and I are doing one for
Uh-huh.
all the victims who have of domestic violence,
Oh,
because domestic violence, as you well know, is a huge thing,
yes.
crosses all ethnic
Yes.
groups, all gender groups, all socioeconomic groups,
Yes.
and it's a huge event. So we'll be doing that in honor of the
Oh,
victims
it's going to be
of,
beautiful.
well, and
Yes.
even more beautiful is that one of the things, as cultural advisor to the organization, I said you really have to begin where it begins with, and that begins with a religious basis.
Right.
So we're starting at San Fernando Cathedral.
Yes.
We're going to montar,
Uh-huh.
or to install an altar there for the victims of domestic violence. There'll be a skull done by Jeannie Garcia,
Mm-hmm.
and then there'll be an artistic one done by Elizabeth Rodriguez, all in front of San Fernando
Oh,
Cathedral.
I got to get a picture of that.
I know. And then we're going to do a procession. A
I was going to ask.
procession,
Okay.
a procession from San Fernando Cathedral with all of the people who have somebody affected by domestic violence,
Uh-huh.
marching all the way with a candle and uh, a a a note on each candle with the name of somebody who passed
Oh,
away, and we will do the procession all the way to La Villita,
wow.
and then put the candles at our second altar out of there. We've only done this in 2 weeks, so that's not too bad, right?
That's a lot of work.
And so the other ones that will be one for Tom Frost,
Mm-hmm.
one for, of course, we have to honor Frida Kahlo,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So there'll be one for Frida Kahlo also. So those are most of the
Well, thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
And
But
yeah,
then
so
we're
this
gonna
actually
end.
this podcast is going to be, people will be watching this weeks from now, so they'll be pulling it up. So it will be important because they'll be able to listen to the events
Oh,
and that.
good,
Yeah, so
good,
yeah, this
good.
goes on the website, and many people will watch it. So
Well, I'm sure she'll
yeah.
also give you the calendar,
Oh yes,
so that the
I'll get the
calendar
calendar.
can be
Yes,
done on the post on
and we'll
the
put that on. We'll
yes.
put that on our website as well.
And then if you want to end up, because you're going to be eating all these wonderful foods,
Uh
there's going to be
huh.
a 5K race
Oh,
through
I won't
through
be doing that.
I won't either, through Mission Park and the cemeteries
Right.
there. So is that
That's
unusual?
unusual.
But also to recognize the living among
The dead.
those that
Yeah.
have died. Yes.
Dr. Rojas, thank you so much for honoring us
You're
today. This has
quite
been so
welcome.
enlightening. You're a beautiful, beautiful person, and you
Thank
are a
you.
civic treasure to our city, and to it's just amazing all the things that you've done, and your consultation has made this going to be even more grandiose
Oh,
than we could have
good,
ever thought.
good,
So I
good.
really appreciate all of your hard work
Yeah.
and everything. So thank you so much for your time
Thank
today,
you
coming
so
out on
much
this
for having
Saturday.
us and for
Um,
letting us explain it to
Absolutely,
everybody. Yeah.
absolutely. This is Dr. Doug on the Saturday Insight Show. Dr. Ellen Rojas Clark. She is the Professor Emerita, Department of Bicultural Bilingual Studies, University of Texas, San Antonio. The author of the Calaveras of, you got to say the rest of it.
The what?
The
A calaveras de
Yes,
Moisés Espino.
yes.
Yes,
There we
which
go.
are
Thank you.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm just going to butcher this.
That's-
But thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
God bless
Thank
you.
you.
Mhm. Dr. Doug KROV from the Heart and Soul of San Antonio. We'll be back. We're good.
Is it off now?
Yeah, we're off. So hit end there.